Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of epic fantasy romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Ah, gulp of coffee. Today is Monday, November 25th, 11/25/24. Ah, Thanksgiving week here in the US. So, no podcast on Friday because I'll be with family. We're driving tomorrow to Tucson. My big goal is keeping this revision moving forward. I think I mentioned on Friday that I was very hopeful of passing the 50% mark on the revision, and I'm at 51%. Who's your girl? I am. Yeah, so it's going well. I'm on page, I've revised 158 out of 309 pages. It's a little bit of a moving target. The number of pages as I add words keeps the number of pages I need to revise keeps moving, right? I haven't added tons. Actually, I've cut more than I've added, which is unusual, but that will change. I've cut, well, I guess I don't. Oh, yeah, I do know. Okay, I've cut about 6,000 words and I've added about 3,700 words. So it's feeling home stretchy for me. I'm getting there. I'm getting there with this book. Uh, I think some of you know that as I'm drafting, I use square brackets around like things I don't want to name yet. Some things have to be named for the story to work. Other things, like if I can't think of the word I want or I don't want to name it yet, I'll put those in square brackets, and I keep track of how many of those I address as I'm going through is just another metric. And I had 102 square brackets, and I'm down to 66 remaining. So that feels good as well. I'm still looking at having about 8,600 words to add to finish the book. We'll see. I think that's probably what it's going to be. So I'm thinking I'm going to have it all done by December 6th. So that would be good. I've been working with my cover artist on covers for the next Warriors of Magic books, for Strange Familiar and for Magic Reborn. So uh, I'm still not sure if I'm going to make my end of January release for Strange Familiar. If I can write 3,000 words a day, I can do it. Um, but I haven't been doing that. So we'll see. I might have to push it back my free 30 days. Apologies if I have to do that, but uh, so it goes sometimes, right? I know I've been doing that a lot lately. I haven't scheduled the pre-order for Magic Reborn yet, though. The third book, the final book, I think, of the 9-book series. Uh, so I feel like I'm being good that way by restraining myself on setting that pre-order and trying to figure out when I can actually get that done. I think I've talked about on here before. I do have a non-compete with Tor, which I don't mind. It's not a long window, but it means that I either have to get that book out a couple months before Never the Roses or like 3 months after, something like that. So, actually, you all probably want to know the real number. Let me tell you. Yeah, so it's 60 days before release and 150 days after. So that means I would have to get Magic Reborn out in early May, which is possible. Also, in an interesting resurrection of the ghost of projects past, secret projects past, um, First Order of the Fey Realms. I'm pretty sure I referred to it. It was the one that I was calling Bandits for a while. We went out on submission. I had to finish writing it. I finished writing it like last spring. Well, Agent Sarah says she's finally going to get notes to me to look at, she said, over the Christmas holiday. So we'll see what kind of tweaks she wants on that. That'll determine where I can be on the rest of my schedule. So many balls to juggle. That's the hybrid challenge, right? Uh, you know the the deadlines that you owe to other people are different than the deadlines that you set within your own business. So, so yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on. I'm hoping while I'm in Tucson, hi mom, that I'll do my usual morning sneak off to Starbucks to work and be able to keep moving this revision forward. I won't get anything done on this book, obviously, tomorrow, but I've got that programmed into my schedule. So I think I should be in good shape. So, other things that are going on. It's funny, I don't have a long list of things to talk about for once this week. Um, I was at a Friendsgiving party yesterday, and of course, the topic of AI, which I put in air quotes, came up. Um, Language models. Uh, and I noticed that in the news today, there's several publishers. This new one talking about being an industry disruptor, the disruptor that they want to put out 8,000 books in 2025. And the way that their business model works is they are going to charge authors something like $5,000 to put their books through AI for proofreading and get these things out on the market. I guess this same group had like one day recently put out 33 books, published 33 books in one day. So I think that the business model is obvious here. Say it with me, kids. How are they making their money? From the authors, right? All of that is income from the authors, not from selling books. And perhaps in this day and age, this uh, year of Al Gore's internet, 2024, uh, Ogg's Law is more important than ever. Ogg's Law, of course, being that money should flow to the author, money should flow to the creator. And so many of these industries, as I feel like I've talked about ad infinitum, but there's always a fresh audience for this, are set up to extract money from hopeful creators. Let me help you get your creation out in the world. You only have to pay me to do it. Uh, we should be paid for our creations. I had a long conversation with a musician yesterday who lives up in Denver who was at this party. And it was interesting comparing, what it's like in the creative fields. And one thing that we had in common was, and I talked about, doing a lot of the mentoring and the podcast and so forth, but it's that it's always a push. It's always a stretch. It's always a struggle. It's kind of funny to read this article, the quoting the guy who started this particular company. He says, it's not about profit. It's a self-branding process. Let's say you want to leave a mark or a legacy. Most people publish a book not because they want to make a living from that. I don't know where he got that idea. It's their hobby. Either they must become very, very famous to get a traditional publishing deal. Correction, readers, you do not. Or they have to invest tens of thousands of dollars. I want to help bring books to the masses. Um, yeah. So, let me remind you all, talking to this musician, yes, it's always a struggle. There is, or maybe struggle's not even the right word. It's always work. It's always a push. I mean, unless you end up with like Stephen King money, and I bet Stephen King still feels like he has to push. I think Nora Roberts feels like she does. Um, it's just part and parcel of being in a creative field is that there is no coast mode. There is no place where you put it on cruise control and sit back. And, one thing I talked about last week is that doing Becca Syme's class and discovering that I'm in phase 5 of a business, the mature business, um, and that one of the challenges in that business is to, or at least the one that really stuck out to me, is taking time off, which to me is part of that, like being willing to set cruise control and sit back and um, take that time off, not push all the time. And one thing that other people in this phase talk about is feeling bored, feeling like they don't have that excitement of doing the early phases of the R&D and the building the business and so forth. And I don't feel that at all, because for me, all of the excitement is in the creation. It's in stretching myself. Remind me of this. I'm sure all of you will. When I am bitching and complaining about why did I try writing this very difficult book. I mean, that's the thing about this book that I'm writing right now, A Rose in the Mirror, is it is different than anything I've written before. And I probably have been complaining about that. But that also is the piece that keeps me very interested in what I'm doing. All of this is to say, however, that just because it's a struggle, like this figuring out how to balance doing the business, that you're always pushing, that you're always stretching creatively. You don't want to do this thing where you're falling in with these people saying, oh, well, most people don't want to make a living from writing their books. I'm going to do a big correction on that one. Almost every creator I've ever met would love to learn a living from their creative work. Whether that's possible is, dicey, can come and go. But I think these voices reinforce the idea that it can't happen to you because they want you to pay them to publish your book. And frankly, you could pay a lot less money to push your book out there the way that these people are doing it. Don't use AI. You can pay an editor and a proofreader much less than $5,000 to do this. That's if these guys even last, which I don't think they will. They think that they're tech bros who are going to disrupt the industry. Don't you get tired of hearing about that? Disrupt the industry. I think that's code for that they're hoping they'll make a whole bunch of money from it. From getting people to pay them to publish their books, which is a scam as old as time, right? So yeah, don't listen to these people. You can make a living as a writer or other creator. I'm doing it. Other people are doing it. I was not famous when I got a traditional publishing deal. And also, traditional publishing isn't the only way to make a living as a writer, right? You can do it both ways. But I can promise you this, that using AI, I forgot to put it in quotes that time, is not the path to get there. I think that, we are going to see a whole lot more machine language generated books and stories flooding the market, which means that the key is going to be good writing, people. It's going to be stretching your craft, coming up with the stories that the machines can't. It's going to be it's going to put a greater premium on artistic ability, on that creativity, on telling a different story that's been told before. And we talk about that there are no new ideas, but there are an infinite number of new ways to tell a story. Uh, if you give a room full of writers the same story prompt, you're going to end up with as many different stories as there are writers in that room. It's fascinating. It's the soul and heart of human creativity that we are able to do this. And it's not something that the tech bro mind understands because they are not creators. They are not creative individuals. They are, um, let me figure out how to maximize my income by getting people to pay for things. And, that's kind of the heart and soul of capitalist society, right? Is the getting people to pay for things that they don't need because people shell out money for stuff that they do need, but only to a certain extent. The real profit, the real scam is in getting people to pay for stuff that they don't need. Uh, there endeth that sermon. I feel like my thoughts are a little scattered today. I keep pausing to think about what I want to say. And maybe I've already said it all. But, it's interesting hearing how different people approach their careers. And a lot of self-published authors tend to be very, very focused on the business. Talking about like doing foreign translations, doing audiobooks, build, build, build. It's part of that same mindset, right? It's the how do I grow my business? How do I make more money? Um, and is that why we're here, right? For a lot of people, being able to make their living from their art is important for reasons that kind of go beyond money, right? There are any number of times when I have thought about that I should get a day job again, that I could probably get a pretty decent paying day job because I have a science degree, graduate degree. But I don't want to. I don't want to. I want to be doing this because, as much as I complain, going through the existential angst of creation, it's it's the best job. It's the best life. It's really just amazing to be able to do this, and I wish this for all of you. Uh, it's just that it's not easy. It's never easy, and uh, I think we think that there's going to be this point, the cruise control moment, the um, sort of the movie idea of being a writer where you're just sort of thoughtfully strolling the streets of town in your smoking jacket or what have you. I know I'm really mixing up images there. Um, but I think like what the movie doesn't get is the internal monologue, which is as you're strolling through the streets of town, it's because you're agonizing over some plot point or some character, some things that's not falling into place, or the certainty that this book is terrible and that it's going to ruin your career and you'll be done forever, which I feel like is also part of the creative process. So I suppose looking ahead and at this week and what we're grateful for, there are a lot of things happening in the world that are concerning, and it's easy to concentrate on those things and say, why are we having to live through these times? Why is, you know, basically that. And I think of one of my religious studies professors, Professor Hoddes, who I know I refer to often, how he would say that it's human nature that we don't ask why we receive blessings, why good things happen to us. That when bad things happen, when upsetting things happen, we cast our eyes to heaven and say, why me? Why now? Why this? But when great things happen, we don't do that. We don't say, oh, why me? Why now? And so maybe that's the thought for the week is look around at all the really good things and be like, wow, why me? Why do I get to have this career? Um, yeah. All right. Uh, I will talk to you all next Monday. You all have a great week celebrating Thanksgiving or not. And yeah, you all take care. Bye bye.